Oh, happy Sunday. I'm going to talk about the sun today, specifically the sun's journey through Gemini of 2024, which starts tomorrow. So that's why I'm trying to get this video out tonight on Sunday. So, yeah, I'm going to be reading um, from here. So, sorry if I'm looking down, but I wrote out basically everything that I want to say. So yeah, without any further ado, here we go. So, the sun enters Gemini May 20th, 2024, around 8:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun is entering Mercury's home of Gemini. So, we're going to look at what Mercury is doing this Gemini season before we look to the specifics of the sun. So Mercury will be in Venus's home of Taurus until the 3rd of June. So communication and energy exchanges may be a little more slow moving and focused on earthly pleasures for the first 13 days of this Gemini season. However, this energy drastically changes around June 3rd. Things start to pick up the pace and get a little more optimistic. This is because Mercury enters its home of Gemini, where it's comfortable, and it can more naturally address its themes of curiosity, quickness, duality, and playfulness. So as it enters Gemini, it's approaching a conjunction with Jupiter, which is beneficial not only because Jupiter is the great benefic, the bestower of gifts, but also because Jupiter will be experiencing a sense of relief once Mercury enters Gemini. So, Jupiter is in its detriment in Gemini. It's in its exile. It's not comfortable. So, it's the opposite sign to where Jupiter feels the most comfortable. So, Mercury's themes are antithetical to Jupiter themes. Jupiter wants to expand. Mercury wants to focus on the small things, right? We have the biggest planet versus the smallest planet. So Jupiter sort of struggles in both Gemini and Virgo. But once Mercury comes into Gemini, Mercury enters its home, Jupiter gets a little bit of that sort of same relief. Because when a planet's in the home of another sign, it's being ruled or guided or looked after by the ruler of that sign. So, the whole time that Jupiter's in Gemini, it's being ruled by Mercury. And once Mercury enters its home, it can better guide Jupiter through Gemini. Okay. So, before Mercury leaves Gemini, it's going to conjoin with the Sun around 23 degrees of Gemini on June 14th. So, this conjunction happens within 3 degrees of Venus and with Jupiter co present in the sign of Gemini. So, this is one of the brightest and most positive and beneficial moments of this Gemini season. So, once again, that's June 14th. So lastly, as Mercury leaves Gemini, it's approaching a conjunction with Venus, but that won't happen until the 17th of June, but it happens at 0 degrees Cancer. So that happens in the sign of Cancer. Okay, so moving on to the sun. Now we can actually talk about the sun's journey. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video that the sun enters Gemini May 20th, and it will stay here until June 20th. So as it enters Gemini, it's separating, so moving away from its conjunction with Jupiter. The so-called luckiest day of the year, right? That's the Jupiter Cazimi. Cazimi just means like within 1 degree of the sun, so very, very close conjunction with the sun. Any planet Cazimi is sort of a rebirth, a death, and a rebirth of the planet and its ability to do what the planet seeks to do. And so they call it the luckiest day of the year because Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion, the great benefic, sort of gets some of the sun's energy. What did I say? I said here, the planet of optimism and abundance is granted the power of God, the power of the sun. And so this is followed by Venus entering Gemini on the 22nd of May, and then later by Jupiter on the 25th. So this first week of Gemini season is where you want to be planting the seeds, metaphorically. What do you want to grow? I mean, you could plant the seeds physically too. What do you want to grow? You know, what do you want to leave behind in the spring? But what do you want to take with you into the summer? Yeah, so this is a lot of like hopeful, positive, beneficial energy right at the beginning of this Gemini season, because we have both benefics, coming in to Gemini with the sun. Okay, so the first 2 weeks are going to be a little slow moving, but very optimistic and hopeful. So the first lunation of the month is the full moon in Sagittarius, happening at 2 degrees Gemini on May 23rd. So this is jumping back in time a little bit. I forgot about it, but so this happens like right off the bat. And so this happens like right at 2 degrees of Sagittarius and Gemini. And so both planets that are ruling over the sun and the moon, Gemini and Sagittarius, are still in Taurus. So Mercury is in Taurus, and Jupiter is still in Taurus while this full moon is happening on the 23rd of May. So this is sort of like a culmination and ending, a peak energy point of what Jupiter has been, trying to grow for you in Taurus. It's been there for about a year. So what have you really been trying to grow and expand this year? And if you know more about your birth chart, specifically in the area of Taurus, so for me, it's my first house because I'm a Taurus rising. So this has to do with myself, my body, my personality, who I am, my sense of self, and how I present myself. And that's sort of this. I've been doing this for not even a whole year, but yeah, it is sort of reaching a peak now, right? Because I'm doing a lot more of making videos like this on YouTube and also on TikTok. Yeah, so but if it for you, I don't know where it's happening in your chart, but Jupiter has been trying to grow something in Taurus. And so this could be May 23rd, could be sort of like a peak of the energy, like a really maybe intense, but not necessarily bad intense, but just like powerful sort of ending or growth, explosion maybe of energy. Okay. So, okay, things will start to pick up around June 3rd, like I mentioned, when Mercury joins the party. And this is also the day right before Venus conjoins the sun. And so Venus will have its cazimi. So themes of love and pleasure and fun will be getting a spotlight and a rebirth. Okay, so the next lunation of Gemini season is the new moon in Gemini. So this is at 16 degrees, so this is around the 6th of June. And it's happening like within 1 degree, so very close conjunction to Venus. So this is the fresh start, new beginning. This is an opportunity to wipe the slate clean, and bring in some love and joy to the Gemini parts of your chart. And then moving on, we have on the 9th, this is when Saturn's square to the sun goes exact. So this is one of the harsher transits of this Gemini season. A sort of restriction on our dreams is causing irritation in terms of our hopes for connection through communication. So yeah, that's on the 9th. So we have this like week of like really nice, optimistic, hopeful, um, you know, exciting energy, and then there is sort of this pain, this, you know, restriction that we feel because of Saturn, um, on the 9th. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Um, but so that was a lot. So I'm gonna give like a little general overview. So we start off pretty slow because Mercury's still in Taurus, um, but we have high hopes, right? Because the Sun enters Gemini, followed by both benefics, both good doers, Venus and Jupiter. And then we start to pick up the pace around halfway through Gemini season from the 3rd to the 6th with Mercury entering Gemini and the Venus Cazimi. It brings some fun and some joy. And then the 9th, like I said, is probably the hardest day of the month. Wait, I feel like I didn't mention the... Oh, yes, I did. Okay, sorry. Yeah, the 9th is probably the hardest day of the month. We feel a little bit of Saturn's heaviness in Pisces, but the last 2 weeks of Gemini season tends toward, positivity, and we end with this sense of freedom and renewal. And that is the Mercury Cazimi conjunction with the Sun that I mentioned happens. When does that happen? June 14th, right? So that's like the last week of Gemini season. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed and got something out of this video. I'm going to try to do this for every, month, astrological month, every season. So next up will be Cancer season. Cancer season, we start off with the full moon like right away. So that's another interesting one. But yeah, if you liked it, leave a like, I guess. And if you have questions, if you want to know like what areas of life this might be affecting you in your birth chart, I guess leave a comment with your rising sign if you know it, because the rising sign determines the houses in astrology, and the houses, tell us what areas of life we can expect to see things. So yeah, thanks for watching again. Bye.